When death comes, he comes with the coldest, creepiest whistling sound that sends chills down your spine. And Scar had his own badass musical as well. If only he stayed the king of the jingles, instead of trying to become king of the jungle. These aura-farming villains committed a few crimes here and there. But who committed the most? Who got punished for it? Who got away with it? Let's start in Monaco, the home of Chantal Dubois, the head of animal control, who has a very interesting hobby, collecting animal heads. From when she makes her first appearance on screen through that haze of smoke and fire, to pulling stunts like this. Chantal embodies pure aura. She hunts down the animals relentlessly and looks absolutely cool doing it. But what about her crimes? Well, she illegally hunts Alex specifically to mount his head on her wall. Since Alex is an endangered African lion, that falls under illegal hunting of protected wildlife under Monegasque wildlife laws. And in Monaco, it could result in a fine of 18,000 to 90,000 euros. Let's use the maximum fine since Chantal's hunt escalated into full war. Dubois running count, 90,000 euro fine. Chantal chased the animals through the streets of Monte Carlo at full speed, and even drove on sidewalks. That's reckless driving and endangering public safety. And even though she did her job, driving on a sidewalk is still a big mistake, even for an animal control chief. Under Monegasque law, the fine for this could reach 1,000 euros, plus a 1-year driving ban. Dubois running count, 90,000 plus 1,000 fine plus driving ban. She followed the animals all the way to Italy. Yes, she takes her job seriously. Once there, she tried to steal a police Vespa, unaware that multiple Vespas were all tied together. In Italy, stealing a scooter or motorcycle like a Vespa falls under furto aggravato, which means aggravated theft, because vehicles are specially protected property under the Italian Penal Code, and that's 1 year in Italian prison. Dubois running count, 90,000 plus 1,000 fine, plus driving ban plus 1 year in Italian prison. When police officers tried to stop her, she shot them with her tranquilizer gun. That's assaulting law enforcement officers and resisting arrest. That adds another 4 years. Dubois running count, 90,000 plus 1,000 fine, plus driving ban, plus 1 year in prison, plus 4 years in Italian prison. In the end, Italian police managed to capture her. But Chantal escaped lawful custody almost immediately and continued hunting the circus animals across Europe. And she didn't just escape. She humiliated the Italian police in ways that even the mafia never could. Escaping custody in Italy is enough to add another year to her sentence. Dubois running count, 90,000 plus 1,000 fine, plus driving ban, plus 1 year in prison, plus 4 years in Italian prison, plus 1 year in prison. Later, Chantal entered the United States without any lawful authorization or jurisdiction. Illegal entry into the US adds 6 months in prison. Dubois running count, 90,000 plus 1,000 fine, plus driving ban, plus 1 year in prison, plus 4 years in Italian prison, plus 1 year in prison, plus 6 months in US prison. During the final battle in New York, Chantal shot Alex with tranquilizers, tried to kill him, attacked the circus performers, and abused multiple animals. That's attempted murder under US law, alongside animal cruelty charges. Attempted murder of a beloved New York lion could result in up to 15 years in prison. And under New York law, aggravated animal cruelty can add another 2 years in prison. Dubois final count, 91,000 euros fine, plus 1 year driving ban in Monaco, plus 5 years in Italian prison, plus 17 years and 6 months in US prison. Now, let's go to 1990s New York City, a place full of skyscrapers, billionaires, corruption, and in the midst of it all, one charismatic member of Illuminati.
You know the answer to that, Owen. Pay a man enough, and he'll walk barefoot into hell.
David Xanatos was a karate and judo master. Charismatic and super intelligent, the motto of this man was,
"Nothing terrifies me, because nothing is beyond my ability to change."
Xanatos wasn't your average villain with a tragic backstory. He was rich, brilliant, manipulative, and somehow always 5 steps ahead of everyone else. A true ladies' man, unlike the fake playboy Bruce Wayne. And a true corporate billionaire who didn't inherit his wealth like certain vigilantes. And unlike Lex Luthor, Xanatos wasn't driven by his petty ego, but by pure skill, confidence, and intellect. His first major crime was transporting the ancient gargoyles from Scotland to New York without properly informing authorities what exactly he was moving into his giant castle tower. Technically, that's illegal transportation of protected historical artifacts and possible customs fraud. Under US federal law, smuggling valuable antiquities and falsifying declarations could bring up to 20 years in federal prison and a fine of $250,000. Xanatos running count, 20 years in federal prison plus $250,000 fine. But Xanatos didn't just bring the gargoyles to New York. He manipulated them into attacking civilians and pursuing his enemies under false pretenses. That's criminal conspiracy and reckless endangerment. And because several incidents caused public destruction throughout Manhattan, prosecutors could also add multiple counts of property damage. Under New York law, reckless endangerment in the first degree carries up to 7 years in prison. Xanatos running count, 27 years in prison, plus $250,000 fine. Xanatos also illegally created and deployed heavily armed robotic exosuits and combat drones throughout New York City. And no, billionaires are not legally allowed to build private military weapons. Not even Bruce Wayne. Manufacturing and deploying illegal military-grade weapons without federal authorization would violate US weapons and defense laws. Under federal law, unlawful weapons trafficking and illegal destructive devices can carry up to 10 years per offense. So let's count that as at least another 20 years. Xanatos running count, 47 years in prison plus $250,000 fine. Additionally, Xanatos constantly stole classified technology, bribed officials, manipulated corporations, and illegally obtained confidential information to strengthen Xanatos enterprises. And the craziest part is that he usually escaped consequences because he buried everything under corporate loopholes, private contracts, and armies of lawyers. So, corporate espionage, wire fraud, and bribery. Under federal wire fraud statuses, each major count can carry up to at least 20 years in prison. And due to his consistent pattern of criminal activity, Xanatos would be charged with racketeering under the RICO Act. So, combined with these crimes, that would be life in prison without the possibility of parole. Xanatos running count, 47 years in prison, plus life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus $250,000 fine. Xanatos repeatedly captured, imprisoned, and experimented on the gargoyles for his own gain. That's false imprisonment, unlawful detention, kidnapping, and illegal experimentation. Under New York law, kidnapping in the first degree can carry a sentence of at least another 15 years. But combined with these other crimes, it's enough for another 40 years in prison. So that's life, plus 87 years just in case he reincarnates. Xanatos' final count, 87 years in prison, plus life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus $250,000 fine. Now, let's move on from gargoyles to something even worse. An orange cat being hunted by Death himself. Does this sound send chills down your spine? Obviously, because that's the sound of death.
Mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or in any other fancy way. I'm death. Straight up.
After Puss wasted 8 years of his 9 lives doing unbelievably stupid things, Death got offended. So instead of waiting for nature to do its job, Death personally started hunting him down. Death attacks Puss in the tavern for the first time. While Puss thinks he's dealing with another bounty hunter, Death openly assaults him with sickles, attempting to slice him like a piece of lasagna. In medieval Spain, assault with deadly weapons against a known hero would likely result in mutilation of the offender, usually his hand. But under the circumstances, this wasn't a crime, because they agreed to fight. That makes it a duel, which was legal in most medieval societies. And even if it wasn't fully legal, it was allowed. Death kept stalking Puss, repeatedly threatening him, tracking him down, and intentionally terrorizing him purely for personal satisfaction. Then he revealed that he's not a bounty hunter, but Death, straight up. So all of this counts as harassment, intimidation, and attempted murder several times over. Medieval kingdoms did punish attempted murder with the death penalty, although death being a supernatural entity might complicate the arrest process slightly. Eventually, Death cornered Puss and fully admitted he wanted to kill him before his final life naturally ended. That's attempted murder. Death basically turned himself from the cosmic force of nature into a serial killer who kills for fun and not because it's his job, all while whistling that blood-curdling tune. For these crimes, appropriate punishment would be death by hanging, but only if someone could actually catch and put Death on trial. Death running count, death by hanging. In the end, Death backs off after finally gaining respect for Puss once he learns to value his final life, promising, of course, to return one day in a more professional way when the time comes. Death final count, death by hanging. Assuming anyone can actually arrest Death in the first place, so he's pretty much getting away with it. Now, let's go to France yet again, but in a different time period. The one that wasn't particularly good for the Romani people.
Baby? A monster. This is an unholy demon. I'm sending it back to hell.
And if Frollo somehow managed to send himself there as well, his job would be complete. Judge Claude Frollo spent his entire life pretending to be a righteous Christian while committing crimes that would be too much even for medieval Paris. The very first thing we see him do is chase a Romani woman through the streets of Paris, and when she tries protecting her baby, Frollo kills her on the steps of Notre Dame Cathedral. In late medieval France, killing a civilian like this would likely be treated as homicide under royal law. And since the murder happened on church grounds, the punishment would be even harsher. However, in that time and place, murdering a Romani person was often overlooked and unpunished, so no justice just yet. Right after killing Quasimodo's mother, Frollo tried throwing the infant into a well because of his appearance. That's attempted infanticide. In medieval France, murdering or attempting to murder a child, especially on cathedral property, would easily lead to execution. But once again, this was a Romani child. If the Romani child was not baptized in the Catholic Church, a biased court or defense could argue the child was a pagan or infidel, which heavily devalued their life. So again, no justice for the quote-unquote demon children. Years later, Frollo kept Quasimodo locked inside Notre Dame for most of his life, manipulating him through fear and humiliation. Medieval courts did not really have laws for emotional abuse the way modern systems do, but unlawful imprisonment and abuse of authority absolutely existed. However, the Catholic Church in medieval France guarded its legal rights. A corrupt or powerful archdeacon detaining an orphaned, deformed child inside the cathedral would likely have been swept under the rug as a strictly internal church matter. And even though it was immoral and manipulative, technically it wasn't a crime. Frollo just told Quasimodo that the outside world would hate him if he left, so he stayed. Frollo arrested, tortured, and persecuted Romani citizens throughout the city while abusing his authority as a judge. Torture was technically legal in medieval France, but unauthorized cruelty and corruption by a public official could still bring severe punishment if exposed, especially because his actions destabilized Paris itself. At minimum, he would lose his position and likely face imprisonment or execution, depending on the king's judgment. And what would the king decide? Well, King Louis XI did order a large number of executions in his time, but mainly those of rebellious nobles, political rivals, and those who committed treason. But Frollo? The Pope and the Church strongly protected church officials. However, Frollo did commit crimes against the crown. Burning large sections of Paris without royal authority is arson and could easily be considered treason. Innocent civilians were still inside many of the homes, and treason in medieval France meant one thing: death by beheading. Frollo running count, one death sentence. In the end, Frollo stormed Notre Dame armed with a sword and attempted to murder both Quasimodo and Esmeralda inside the cathedral itself. But still, super chill crime in those times. So all Frollo gets is a death sentence for treason and property destruction. For all the other brutal crimes, he would be pardoned, just like many royal and church officials in those times. But honestly, what is it that Frollo truly needed? Well, exorcism. And let's hope that somehow someone from the church considered it. Frollo final count, 1 death by beheading plus exorcism. And now, everyone's favorite evil lion. Scar just hated Mufasa, and Simba, and especially Zazu. Besides his ambition to take away the throne from his brother, Scar was also the king of jingles, and boss of all hyenas. Zazu obviously got on Scar's nerves multiple times, so it's not a surprise that he tried to eat him. Or was he just trying to scare the little annoying bird? Since he knew Mufasa was coming, he probably wouldn't dare eat Zazu, so we'll count that as assault. And under Kenyan law, where the Lion King is heavily implied to take place, that is 1 year in prison. Scar running count, 1 year in prison. Later, Scar manipulates Simba by accidentally telling him about the forbidden elephant graveyard. Simba, curious as he was, went to explore the elephant's graveyard, only to be attacked by hyenas. This is child endangerment, but also attempted murder since Scar made a deal with hyenas to take out Simba and Nala, but Mufasa came just in time to stop them. That's 5 years for child endangerment and a life sentence for double attempted murder. Scar running count, 1 year plus 5 years plus life in prison. Scar had a good plan, but hyenas were dumb, so he decided to go with plan B. And that plan is regicide. Scar brutally ended Mufasa and took over the kingdom, and that's a death sentence under Kenyan law. Scar running count, 1 year plus 5 years plus life in prison plus death sentence. So Scar finally became the king. And what's one of the first things he did? Imprison that loudmouth bird, of course, and made him sing. So that's the false imprisonment of Zazu, and another year in Kenyan prison. Scar running count, 1 year plus 5 years plus life in prison plus death sentence plus 1 year in prison. Later, Scar keeps hearing Mufasa's name and how he ran the kingdom. Furious at living in his brother's shadow and tired of being compared to him, he strikes Sarabi. That counts as battery, adding another year in prison. Scar running count, 1 year plus 5 years plus life in prison plus death sentence plus 1 year plus 1 year. Finally, when Simba returned, Scar tried to send him to an early grave, just like he did with Mufasa. That's attempted murder, but also regicide, since he called Simba a king just before attacking him. And that's another death sentence. So even if Scar somehow managed to die and come back to life, he still has to face the hangman. Scar final count, 8 years plus life in prison plus 2 death sentences. Now, let's go to medieval China where Lord Shen was murdering pandas like they were houseflies.
Oh, it's your parting gift, in that it will part you. Part of you here, part of you there, and part of you way over there, staining the wall.
But let's start from the beginning. Everything started with a prophecy. A warning that if Lord Shen continued chasing power and destruction, he would eventually be defeated by a warrior of black and white. Fearing the prophecy, Shen ordered the massacre of pandas across China. Entire panda communities vanished, and the species was pushed close to extinction. But Shen lived under the Yuan dynasty. During the Yuan dynasty, Mongol nobles stood far above ordinary Chinese citizens in the legal system. A Mongol who murdered a Chinese commoner was only expected to pay for the funeral, which was pegged at the value of a single donkey. So Shen practically paid for panda genocide by handing over what amounts to a few thousand donkeys in payment. Shen running count, 5,000 donkeys as payment. During his exile, Shen secretly assembled a wolf army and built enormous cannons powerful enough to dominate China itself. And while the Yuan rulers may have not cared much about dead peasants, they absolutely cared about threats to their rule. Creating private armies and manufacturing powerful weapons counted as treason, and under Yuan law, treason meant lingqi, death by 1,000 cuts, followed by the extermination of your entire bloodline. Shen run and count, 5,000 donkeys as payment, plus lingqi, plus bloodline erasure, plus dishonor. But Shen wasn't done. Once his cannons were ready, Shen launched his assault on Gongmin City. He attacked Master Thundering Rhino with cannon fire, locked up Master Storming Ox and Master Croc, and seized control of the city. That's murder, unlawful imprisonment, and treason against the governing authority. Under Yuan law, attacking state leadership like this earned yet another lingqi sentence. Shen run and count, 5,000 donkeys as payment, plus lingqi times 2, plus bloodline erasure, plus dishonor. Then, the prophecy finally came true. Po, the black and white warrior, arrived in Gongmin City, and Shen immediately tried sending him to Panda Heaven, several times. Somehow, Po survived because apparently, dumplings gave him the durability of a tank. That's attempted murder, which adds another donkey as compensation. Shen run and count, 5,001 donkeys as payment, plus 2 times lingqi, plus bloodline erasure, plus dishonor. Finally, Shen captured the Furious Five, demolished bridges and sections of Gongmin City with cannon fire, and openly declared his plan to conquer all of China. At that point, this became outright high treason against the Yuan dynasty, which means one last lingqi sentence, complete bloodline destruction, and eternal family disgrace. Shen final count, 5,001 donkeys as payment, plus 3 lingqis, plus bloodline erasure, plus permanent dishonor. Now, let's talk about the most charismatic medieval witch of all time. Maleficent's very appearance intimidated everyone in the room. Casually appearing with her raven Diablo, this witch made Bellatrix Lestrange look like an 18th century housemaid. Maleficent was a little offended for not being invited to a baby's christening, so she gatecrashed the damn thing, cursed a baby princess, and then just evaporated. Maleficent entered King Stephan's castle without permission during Aurora's royal christening. Unlawfully entering royal property was a huge crime back then, and openly threatening the royal family makes it even worse. Additionally, when guards attempted to confront her, she attacked them with magic and escaped capture. That's assaulting royal guards and fleeing lawful arrest. And of course, the practice of witchcraft, which was a huge crime. In a medieval kingdom, attacking the king's soldiers would be treated as a direct assault on the crown itself. The punishment for her crimes against the crown would be beheading. But considering she used black magic and is a known witch, it would be a fiery burning at the stake. But before that happens, we must properly account for all her other crimes. Maleficent running count, burning at the stake. Maleficent intentionally cursed an infant princess to die before adulthood. In medieval Europe, harming or threatening royal children was considered an act close to treason. But because the curse involved dark magic, things got even worse. Medieval kingdoms heavily feared witchcraft and sorcery, so Maleficent, combining attempted murder with magical curses, would almost certainly guarantee another burning at the stake. Maleficent running count, 2 times burning at the stake. Years later, Maleficent kidnapped Prince Philip and imprisoned him inside her castle to stop him from saving Aurora. Kidnapping a prince and heir to the throne would be viewed as a massive political crime against the kingdom. Medieval monarchies treated crimes against royalty incredibly harshly. So that's another fire for this witch. Maleficent running count, 3 times burning. In the end, Maleficent transformed into a dragon and went to war against the kingdom itself. She destroyed bridges, burnt forests, and attacked Prince Philip. This wouldn't just be assault or property destruction. At that point, it's war against the crown. That means treason, mass murder, and attempted regicide all at once. And guess what? She's gonna burn again. And when that fire slowly dies, they're gonna light it up again and again, 4 times until nothing but evil ash remains. Maleficent final count, 4 times burning at the stake for witchcraft, treason, kidnapping royalty, and mass murder. Now let's go all the way back to ancient Greece, a place of philosophers, warriors, democracy, and one blue flame haircut god with anger issues. Hades was tired of ruling the underworld while Zeus enjoyed all the glory on Mount Olympus. The underworld became a little too dark and gloomy, and full of dead people. So instead of therapy, Hades decided to overthrow the gods themselves and take away the title from his brother. The first thing Hades did was make a secret deal with the Fates to learn how he could take over Mount Olympus, and after hearing that baby Hercules would stop him, Hades immediately ordered Pain and Panic to kidnap and murder the infant. That's conspiracy to commit infanticide against the son of the king of the gods. Pain and Panic kidnapped Hercules, fed him a potion to strip away his godhood, and attempted to kill him. That's kidnapping and attempted murder of a child. And what would his punishment be if Zeus, as the head of gods, was the judge? No, it wouldn't be death, but something much, much worse. In ancient Greek mythology, Tartarus was the darkest abyss beneath the underworld, used as a dungeon of torment for the wicked and a maximum security prison for defeated gods like the Titans. So that's where Zeus would send his brother, to be imprisoned there for 1,000 years. Hades' running count, imprisoned in Tartarus for 1,000 years. Another brutal crime was Hades releasing the Titans into Greece to kill Hercules and terrorize civilians. In ancient Greece, he would be pushed off the cliff since the Greeks believed that directly spilling the blood of a convict would bring a curse or religious pollution. But Hades was a god. A fall can't kill him, so it would be safe to say that Zeus would make some creative punishment for his crime, as he often did. So let's say he would condemn him to push a giant boulder up a steep hill for eternity, and when he almost reaches the top, the boulder would roll back down to the bottom. Yes, same punishment like Sisyphus. Hades' running count, imprisoned in Tartarus for 1,000 years, plus boulder pushing for eternity. And Hades would complain 24/7, no doubt, but that's the price of kidnapping Zeus' son. In the final attempt to conquer the gods, Hades launched a full-scale coup against Mount Olympus. He imprisoned Zeus and the Olympian gods, unleashed the Titans across Greece, and openly attempted to seize control of the cosmos. At that point, this goes way beyond normal treason, and punishment would be eternal imprisonment in Tartarus. And combined with boulder pushing, that would be the ultimate punishment. And that's when Hades would finally lose his mind. Hades' final count, imprisoned in Tartarus for eternity and 1,000 years, plus boulder pushing for eternity. So that's it, the world's greatest aura farming villains. What do you think? Who is number one? If you like this video, check out this one. If all Toy Story villains were charged for their crimes.